Hi, everyone. Is this working? Can you hear me? Okay. Is this thing on? All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our eighth grade, going into eighth grade parent curriculum night. For those of you who don't know me, hopefully you do by now, my name is Anthony Chiffo, and I am the very proud principal here at Wantagh Middle School. Joining us tonight, we have Ms. Quattrochi, our assistant principal, along with Mr. Kozak, our director of STEM, Ms. Julie Rossley, our director of humanities, and Mr. Frank Musio, our director of guidance. So we have a great eighth grade program that we're very excited to share with you. I'm very proud of some of the moves that we've made over the past few years regarding our eighth grade program. And I like to brag a little bit and say that, you know, here at Wantagh Middle School, we really try to, tailor to all of our students' needs. And a few years back, when we were looking at our elective program, we added probably like 10 to 12 new eighth grade electives. And if you look at course catalogs around the island in various middle schools, I can guarantee you're not going to find the amount of choices and the amount of really neat eighth grade electives that we have here in other schools. So I'm really excited to share it with you tonight. And really that's the purpose of tonight, is to share with you some choices that you're going to have to make this year, moving into next year, and some of the opportunities that are available for your children. So when we were developing the program, one of the things that we were really, can you guys hear me okay back there? Okay, good, because I'm not hearing myself on the mic, so I just wanted to make sure I was working well. One of the things that we were really focused on is developing the whole child and really providing a program that gives students in eighth grade choice and an opportunity to really explore their passion, while at the same time balancing, a significant academic rigor, which you'll hear from our science and math director in a little bit, about the opportunities that come in eighth grade in terms of math and science, as well as in English and social studies. So before I go into our eighth grade elective program, I'm going to bring up our director of humanities, and Ms. Julie Rossley. She's going to talk a little bit about our English program, our social studies program, and our world language program. Is there anything else that you're in charge of? In E&L, yeah.
Hello, good evening. All right, so in eighth grade, students receive instruction in English based on the department's Reading and Writing Workshop curriculum, which is a continuation of the instruction that students have been receiving since sixth grade. In eighth grade, students read informational and narrative texts, and they write argumentative, narrative, and informational pieces. Throughout the year, students are taught by an English teacher, and they're given additional support by a reading teacher who's in the classroom. They provide lessons and materials that are differentiated for each of our learners. Similar to the experience your child has had in sixth grade and now has in seventh grade, students will continue to read a variety of texts that match their interests in relation to a given genre of study. Within each unit of study, instructional differentiation is delivered through individual and small group conferencing, as well as through whole class instruction. Each of these structures forges meaningful connections between reading and writing and prepares our students for the rigor of high school English. Now, social studies. Throughout their eighth grade year, students will learn the second half of the American history sequence, which began this year in seventh grade. The year's curriculum typically begins with Reconstruction and ends with present day. The department's inquiry-based model follows the New York State Social Studies framework and integrates reading, writing, research, and presentational skills into the students' learning. Students are encouraged to expand both their understanding of the content while also strengthening their communication and collaboration skills. Next year marks the completion of your students' second half of the two-year middle school language sequence. As eighth graders, the students will continue to expand their reading, writing, listening, and speaking skills, while also focusing on learning more about the cultural aspects of those countries that speak their chosen world languages. Throughout the year, students will expand their vocabularies and conjugation skills within their selected world languages. Additionally, students will spend time collaborating with classmates as they practice their conversational skills. As the year progresses, students will engage in presentational and interpersonal speaking, interpretive listening and reading, and interpersonal and presentational writing in preparation for the Checkpoint A exam. In June, the students will sit for this exam, and its results are included on your child's high school transcript. Thank you. I'm now going to call up Mr. Christopher Kozak, who's the Director of STEM.
Good evening. Tonight I'll present a detailed overview of our mathematics and science offerings for 8th graders. In terms of mathematics, we have two different pathways. Pathway 1 is Math 8R, which is our regular Math 8 course, and Pathway 2 is Algebra 1, which is our honors course. Math 8 is open for Math 7R students and meets every day for 40 minutes. The topics covered in Math 8 are essential for success in high school mathematics, especially early high school mathematics. Our Algebra 1 course is aligned with our Math 7H course. It meets daily for 40 minutes and prepares students for the New York State Algebra 1 Regents exam, which is administered in June. It is important to note for current Math 7 students, there is a significant difference in the level of preparation between Math 7R and Math 7H. Math 7H covers 20 8th grade and 9th grade subtopics that are not covered in Math 7R. Is that too much? Does that sound like there's a distinct difference between the two courses. So students who are Algebra 1 is basically 9th grade math. So Math 7R prepares students for 8th grade math. Math 7H compresses 7th grade math and 8th grade math into 1 year and prepares students. They leap basically over 8th grade and they go into 9th grade math in 8th grade. If that makes better sense. Sorry. Okay, I'll cover a little more when we get to the honors portion. Okay. In terms of science, our 8th graders have a choice of two different science courses. Pathway 1 is living environment. Some may know it better as biology. This course meets daily for 60 minutes and culminates in a Regents exam in June. And Pathway 2 is earth science. Out of these two courses, this is the more rigorous Regents level course. Our 8th grade earth science course is part of an advanced 2-year sequence. In 8th grade, students will learn Regents level earth science topics as well as topics for the next course in the sequence. In 9th grade, students will enroll in a course called LEAPS, which combines a Regents level living environment course with an AP environmental science course. So students who are in this 2-year sequence will sit for the Earth Science Regents in June of 8th grade, and in 9th grade, they will sit for the AP environmental science exam in May, as well as the Living Environment Regents in June. This sequence is designed for students who want the extra academic challenge and want to be pushed outside their comfort zone. Our results for LEAPS are excellent, but I want to note that there is a learning curve to the acclimation of rigor and time required for success. And I have dead silence, so I get all nervous when I have dead silence. Sorry. Okay, so I put this in a little bit of a chart, and this is what I usually show incoming 9th grade parents, but I want you to see it as well. If you look up top, can I show this, my arrows? Good. So students who take earth science in 8th grade will take LEAPS in 9th grade. Okay. Once they're finished, they move on to 10th grade, and it ate my 10th grade. How did it? Oh, that's Paul. Okay, that's the high school principal added this little animation. So students in 8th grade Earth Science will move on to LEAPS in 9th grade, and in 10th grade they have a choice of Chemistry H, Chemistry R, or a course called Matter and Energy, and that course is designed for students who are not ready for chemistry. It's a little bit of a bridge course. Okay, Students who decide to go into living environment next year, instead of earth science, will take earth science in 9th grade, and then once they get to 10th grade, they're actually in the same exact spot as students who decide to go the accelerated route next year. And the reason I want to emphasize this, and I talk really fast, so I'm trying to slow down, it depends on the level, the willingness of the student. If they want to challenge themselves next year, earth science, moving to leaps, will it's not only rigorous and challenging, it will free up an elective later on in their high school career. If your child or your student does not want, they have a lot going on after school, if they have a lot of activities and they don't want to commit to the amount of homework that's given for an 8th grader, the worst thing in the world, the one thing I hate to see is I hate to see 8th graders really upset about science or math. And we try to place students in a position which is best for them. If they decide to go the living environment route, it's still a Regents level course. They take earth science in 9th grade, and they have the same opportunities in 10th grade that the other pathway has. Okay? Ooh. No, I don't want that. Okay. So the one extra benefit for taking earth science next year is that starting in September, we are going to begin a science research program for Wantagh High School. It's awesome. It's actually called the Wantagh High School Science Research Academy. And you'll learn more about this next year at an informational meeting with me and the high school principal. The criteria for this program involves Algebra 1 scores. So that's your quarter grades for Algebra 1, as well as midterm grades. And it also includes your science grades. The living environment is considered a Regents level, where the earth science is considered an honors level because of the amount of environmental science weaved into it. So the earth science has a little bit more of a weight to it than living environment. So students who are really students with a desire to join the research academy will benefit by taking earth science next year. But once again, that's a conversation you'll have with your student. Okay. And moving on to honors. In terms of honors for 8th grade, it's important to repeat that Math 7H covers 20 8th grade and 9th grade subtopics that are not covered in 7R. And for earth science, the recommended course grade based upon data is a 95 in Science 7. Okay. Students who have this average will receive notification for eligibility for earth science. Students who do not have the 95 or close to the 95 and wish to appeal it, there is an appeals process. And the appeals process is not really that rigorous. It's a phone call for me, a nice conversation, and just trying to get an understanding of where your student is and what's best for them. Okay, it's more of an informational phone call. Okay, thank you very much, and I'm going to give it back to Mr. Chifo.
All right, thanks, Mr. Kozak. Just want to go back to the criteria of the 95 average. By the way, I see some of you taking pictures of slides, which is fine. Just want you to know I'm going to be sending an email out tomorrow morning, and you'll have a link to this presentation. You'll have the live recording of this presentation and all necessary links that you need. You'll get in an email from me tomorrow, so you don't have to go crazy worrying about taking pictures. But you can, of course, if you like. Just getting back to that 95 criteria, and Ms. Q is going to talk about this a little bit later, we're going to be doing a first run of that average after the second quarter. And what we're going to look at is your child's grade for quarter 1 and quarter 2 and the grade on their midterm. And what we'll do is we'll count quarter 1 and 2 double, and we'll count the midterm single. So you'll take those 5 grades, quarter 1 doubled, quarter 2 doubled, plus their midterm grade, divide that by 5, and any student who is 95 or higher average, those are the students that'll be on the initial Earth Science list. And you'll get a notification about that. And like Mr. Kozak said, if your child's in, 93, 94, and you want to appeal it, you're obviously welcome to do so. And if your child is 95 or higher and you choose not to be in Earth Science, there'll be information when we send that letter home explaining, that you can opt your child out of that and put them in living environment. Totally your choice. Now for the really exciting portion of our 8th grade program. The amount of electives that we have are in front of you right here. This is 17 of our half-year electives. Some of these classes run daily for a semester. Some of these classes run every other day for a full year, but they both equate to a half-year worth of seat time. I'm not going to go through each one. I just do want to show you real quick. I'm going to get daring here and attempt to click a link. So if you go, that link takes you to our website. And I just want to show you, why can't I scroll down? Okay, there we go. Okay. So right underneath the quick links are all the links that I'm going to send you tomorrow and all the links that you really need. We have our curriculum guide, which gives all information about our electives. We have these 8th grade elective videos. If you click this link, it's going to take you to another window that has all 17 electives, like a little 2-minute commercial for each elective that each department created. So we highly recommend that you watch those with your child as you start to go through the course selection process that Ms. Q is going to explain. We also have the Google form that you're going to be required to fill out to do your course selection. And then 8th grade course descriptions basically is a written explanation of all of those 17 electives that I showed you, as well as to click a link to the videos as well. So you have all that information at your fingertips when you start going through this information with your child. All right, and then on top of those 17 choices, I just want to talk quickly about our early bird options. We do have 4 options for early bird classes. Early bird starts at 7:37. It's high school period 1. We're offering chorus, physical education, health, which is a mandated course for 8th graders as well. And if your child needs reading or math support, we offer AIS support as an early bird option as well. Ms. Q is going to explain the reasoning behind offering these early bird options, but I just wanted you to see that these are the options that we have for early bird classes. So I want to kind of take you through a few typical sample schedules. And like I mentioned earlier, we're really trying to cater to your child's specific passion, your child's wants and needs. And if your child is into science, we have a program for them. If your child is really into the arts and music, we have a program for them, and so on and so forth. So just want to show you, this is a sample schedule for a student who is a science-minded student, really into science, loves it, is excelling in Science 7. They're going to be an earth science student. So some of the options that this child could have, for example, period 2 here, they can take robotics, which is it's automation. It's actually a Project Lead the Way course taught by Mr. Sposito. That could be a fall everyday class. And then in the spring, that same period, they could take a class called Modern Food, which is Mr. Mulet's baby. It sounds like a cooking course, but it's not. It's actually a hydroponics and aquaponics course that's given in his unbelievable lab that he created basically on his own. And then the next period, they would have phys ed as a required every other day course for the full year. Opposite that, they could take engineering and design, which is one of our quarter-year electives, which Ms. Q will explain a little bit more in detail later. It's basically Tech 8, engineering and design. And then Health 8 is a required course. Every 8th grader has to take it, so that would fit in to that slot as well. Then you see they have Earth Science butted up with English. Science and English are both 60-minute courses. So in order to take those 2 courses, they happen over a 3-period span during the day. So halfway through period 5 is when the 8th graders were, in this particular case, it could be a different period. But halfway through period 5 in this case, the 8th graders would switch and they would go from science to English or from English to science. So that's why those are blocked out in red and green. That's what we call our block time, where they each get 60 minutes. And it solves the issue of having to have a lab for our Regents level classes, and it also helps our English program, as Ms. Rossley said, with our Readers and Writers Workshop model. And then the rest of their day is lunch, algebra, or Math 8, whichever, a world language, and a social studies. So you really have these 2 periods built in here, these 2 periods in yellow, that your child has many options. Back in the day, every eighth grader was only allowed to take one half-year credit elective. At the time, we called it high school credit electives. We don't offer high school credits for any of these classes. They get more than enough credits that they need once they get into high school. So really, these are just electives that your child can just explore things that they love and really explore their passion. This next sample schedule is a sample of a student who's really art or music minded. This child is taking advantage of our early bird option. So they're taking early bird health, and the reason they're doing that is to free up more space for them to do more things that they love. They're also taking PE in the morning, so that's an every other day class throughout the whole year. And then period 1 is just our 10-minute advisory period. That's why it's not a full length class. And then period 2, this child's taking band, so they're into music. They're doing band every other day. Then they're doing an elective garage band, which is actually an audio engineering class, which is a really neat music-minded class. And then period 3, they're taking digital art in this fall. They're taking ceramics in the spring. If those courses are offered every other day, they're still interchangeable. It would just be digital art on odd days, ceramics on even days. And then this typical science, ELA, 3-period block. Lunch, math, language, and social studies. So this particular child decided to push into the early bird so that they had more options. And now that, this particular child's taking 3 of our half-year credit electives, plus they're in band, which is pretty neat options that really we haven't had other than the past 2 or 3 years. And then our student who's in need of support services, this particular schedule would be an example of a child who's either in our ICT program or potentially resource room program. So this child, that one period that's in blue, that would be their skills or resource room period. The recommendation for this particular child would be to push some classes into the early bird, which is the whole reason why we offered the early bird, is really to give our students our IEP students an opportunity to take more electives, because previously they would have to lose that period and wouldn't be able to. So this particular child is, again, taking health in the morning and PE in the morning. They're taking Ultimate Chef, which is one of our half-year, probably one of our most popular half-year courses. It's from the FACS department. Think of like Iron Chef, really kind of cool stuff. And then they're also taking So Delicious, which is another FACS course, and Elements of Art, which is like Art 8. They're taking those odd and even alternating for a semester, which equates to a quarter-year course for each. Then they get their 60-minute block, same thing, lunch, math, world language, social studies. The one thing I want you to all understand is that, so the whole process of creating an 8th grader schedule, we really hand schedule just about every 8th grader. So after they make their selections, Ms. Q is going to take you through that process in a second, but after they make their selections, our counselors really spend the time meeting with your child, going over the options. If they don't get their first choice for various reasons on an elective, they'll either figure out a way to get them their first choice, or they'll work through to make sure that they're comfortable with their options that they're given so that they can get as many electives as possible. There are so many different scenarios and so many different exceptions that we can make. It would be impossible for me to go through all of them, but just know that if you're feeling like your child might not be able to get the course that they want, just give us a call and let's talk through it, because we might be able to make something happen. And I'll give you one example. The chorus early bird that we offer that early bird chorus really for a student who is in band or orchestra and wants to do a second music, because typically we've never had that opportunity. Offering it as an early bird class really gives that music-minded child a chance to be in 2 performing groups. However, if a child is struggling to get in their electives because they have a support service that they're in need of, but they also really want to do chorus, we're willing to make an exception to that rule and allow that child to do chorus in the morning as an early bird and not have another. Typically, the chorus is for the children who are in band or orchestra, but we'll make that exception and allow that child to do chorus in order to give them another chance to have a fun elective. So like I said, we're very flexible in terms of that, and it's just a matter of having conversations, the guidance counselors, yourselves, and sometimes with us as well. All right, so I'm going to call up Ms. Quattrochi. She is going to take you through the course selection process and really kind of guide you through what to expect over the next couple of days as you choose your courses with your children.
Okay. All right, welcome everyone. So now that you've heard about all these amazing opportunities that we have, how do we get there, right? So today you may have heard from your children. They should have come home and said that they've started to hear about all these electives that we're offering. Our guidance counselors were going into the social studies classes to kind of give them the same presentation that we're giving to you tonight, so they know the opportunities that they have as well. So the next thing is the course selection form, which I'm going to get to in a moment. That is now available on the school website where Mr. Chifo just showed that to you. It's a Google form, and I'll get to that in a moment. The selection form is due on Sunday, this upcoming Sunday, January 22nd. And then that leads into the first week of February, where each counselor is going to meet with your child and go over all of the selections that we're going to talk about in a moment and make sure that nothing has changed between then and talk to them about their wants and needs. All right, so what are the next steps? So after tonight's presentation and throughout, I told you it was going to do this during my presentation. Okay, it's fine. No, it's fine.
I wonder if we can just swap it out.
Maybe.
Sorry, stand by.
I'll have you know that when it said it's going to restart at 7:25, I said to him, that's going to be when I'm speaking, that it's going to restart again. All right, while you're doing that, I'll keep going. So what I'd recommend that you do tonight is go home and talk to your children about the presentation that we're giving to you tonight and start to look at those course videos. So there are those 17 course videos. Oh, way to go.
Thanks.
There are the 17 course videos that you're able to take a look at, and like Mr. Chifo said, they're like infomercials for the electives, and it also tells you what is expected. Thank you so much. No, it's okay. What is expected in the course as well, so that way there's no surprises when your child goes to the course in September and they're not like, oh, I didn't know this is something that was required for this course. So we recommend that you sit and you go over the videos with your child, and then you'll be able to make informed decisions about what they would like to sign up for next year.
Sorry.
That's okay. We're good. All right. Yep. And I'm going to go over what exactly the course selection form looks like in a minute. And then also to build on what Mr. Kozak was saying earlier, in addition to that, the Earth Science acceptance letters, they'll be sent out the week of February 6th as well. And then the appeals process that he mentioned will start the week of February 13th. But also, I just want to reiterate what he said before, that no matter what science course your child takes in grade 8, it is a Regents level course. So if your child is involved in a lot of things outside of school, maybe they have a very active schedule, Earth Science may not be for your child in 8th grade. They still have the opportunity to get a Regents credit by taking Living Environment. All right, so the course selection form. So this isn't exactly what it looks like, because what you'll be filling out is actually a Google form, but this is to give you an idea of what the form is going to ask you. So these are all of our half-year courses that Mr. Chifo mentioned earlier. Please note this needs to be done from your child's Wantagh school account. It will not let you access the form from an outside email address. So you are also only allowed one submission, so please make sure before you submit, you can't go back and make any edits after you have submitted the form. That's not to say, obviously, that you can't change your mind. You can send me an email, Mr. Chifo, or your child's guidance counselor an email. But once you submit, just know that you cannot go back and make any changes. So on the first part of the form, what you're going to be doing is rating your child's top 4 choices. So now there's 17 choices, but you're going to choose, starting with number 1, your top 4 options. Now, in any given year, certain classes may or may not run depending on a number of different things, such as class enrollment. So if your child's first choice is a class that doesn't run, then obviously we're going to move on to their second choice, which would be a conversation with the guidance counselor. But that is why we ask you to choose your top 4 depending on your child's schedule. There's different students are able to fit more or less things into their schedule, so we always ask for their top 4 choices. All right, moving on now to parts 2, 3, and 4. So the second part here, these are the quarter year courses that Mr. Chifo was mentioning earlier. These are the same courses that your child has been taking in 6th and 7th classes. We call them the wheel courses. They've just been given fancier names. So Elements of Art is Art 8, So Delicious is our Facts 8, and Engineering and Design is our Tech 8 class. Now, these are not mandated courses, but we also ask you to rank them in the order that you would be interested in, your child would be interested in taking them, because again, like I mentioned earlier, depending on what your child's schedule looks like, they may have more opportunities or less depending on their other choices. You'll notice that Health 8 is there. That is a mandated course, so that's everybody's choice one, because every child in 8th grade needs to take the health quarter year class. Then moving on to part 3, which is the music selection, which Mr. Chifo just touched upon. So now in grade 8, it's a little bit different. So music is not a required course anymore in grade 8. So of course we encourage your child to continue if they're in a performing group and they've been in a performing group for years. We encourage them to stay in that performing group. But in grade 8, you do have the option, which you see up there, band, chorus, orchestra, or I prefer not to be in a performing group. And then that leads into our part 4, which is the optional early bird. Now, as Mr. Chifo mentioned earlier, early birds is a really great opportunity for your students. Early birds is not something that's offered in every district either, and it really gives your child the opportunity to start their day early. That's why it's called early birds. So they start at the same time that the high school starts. Now, these are mandatory classes, so your child does have to show up. So if you know that your child is somebody who struggles to get to school at 8:30, maybe early birds wouldn't be the best choice for them, because they are mandatory classes. Health and phys ed are requirements. So if, say, your child's having a hard time and they have a significant number of absences, they would have to then be moved from an early bird class. It would go into their school day, and then they would lose the elective. So having the early bird class allows your child to have more electives and more things that, say, they may enjoy or want to explore during the school day. And another thing I wanted to note is that buses are available for the early bird class. So if your child is eligible for a bus as is, they do have the opportunity to they will be on the bus with the high school students, which is something that we've been doing that's worked out really well. They may have a little bit of a different stop in the morning, but we'll work with you in transportation and we'll let you know where your child needs to go, where their bus stop is for their early bird class. So I think that is all for now. So I'm sure that we gave you so much information. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Absolutely. So these courses are every day. So that's a perfect example. So if your child continues, say, with an AIS support class, they can then take, say, PE on the alternate day, and then that allows where the spot that AIS class would have taken up in your child's school day, they now have the opportunity to take an elective instead. All right?
Just repeat the question.
Oh, right. Thank you. I'm sorry, can you say that one more time? If they sign up for band or orchestra during the school days, does that take up one of their electives? I wouldn't say that it takes up one of their electives. Band and orchestra is part of that music component, so it's considered one of the electives. But if they did take that course, say, at a different time, say if it was a chorus class, band and orchestra isn't offered in the morning as an early bird class. So that would be, if your child also wants to take chorus, that would be offered in the morning.
Yeah, so it essentially, if your child has 2 periods where they could take electives, that would take up 1.5 years. Yeah, but they're still, depending on their schedule, they have plenty of options that they can still take within those other period and a half.
And I just want to go back because the people at home can't hear the question. So the first question was, if my child takes an AIS class every other day in the morning, then the question was, could they take another early bird class on the alternating day? And the answer to that was yes.
I just want to Just one other point I thought about while Ms. Q was presenting. I don't know if you noticed the phys ed options. There were two phys ed electives. One is Fitness for Life, and one is Yoga and Mindfulness. Those, if your child is really into, PE and wants to take a second PE class, they could take that, and essentially that doesn't count as their phys ed, so they would still take physical education, and then they could also take Fitness for Life or Yoga and Mindfulness, so they could essentially have two PE classes or daily PE, if that's something they're really interested in. There is rare occasions, and I think we only did it once or twice in the past 2 or 3 years, where we can count Fitness for Life or Yoga and Mindfulness as their PE class in order to free up another option for them to take an elective. So those are the situations where, we talk it through, we look at what we can do to help, and, in 1 or 2 rare cases, we were able to do that. But then we also have cases where kids are now taking 2 PEs because that's what they love, and they want to get active, and they have that option to do so. All right, questions? Yes? No. The question was, is there an English honors? No, there is not English honors. All students take English 8. That's a 60-minute daily class where they do the Readers and Writers Workshop model. So we're not. So the question was, can the students opt out of the 8th grade assessment? Because we offer, and correct me if I'm wrong here, because we offer our Regents level classes, we don't offer Science 8 any longer at the middle school, so we don't have the state science assessment, the 8th grade state science assessment. Each student who takes either Living Environment or Earth Science will take the New York State Regents exam, the Living Environment Regents or the Earth Science Regents exam, which is a test that they do have to take in order to get the Regents credit for high school. The 8th grade assessment we no longer give because we don't give that course anymore. Okay, so the question was when is the FLAX exam given, and the answer is around the end of June 20th, around there. Correct. I'm going to turn that one over to Mr. Kozak. You want to just repeat her question?
Sure. Can you repeat the question so I can just... Mm-hmm. Yes. So the question is to clarify the Earth Science LEAP sequence. So the Earth Science is one course in 8th grade. The students will sit for the Earth Science Regents at the end of 8th grade. Those students will take a program called LEAPS in... Sorry, I'm trying to get to it. Those students will take a program called LEAPS in 9th grade. That is one course. It's not 2 separate courses. It's one. It's a course that meshes AP Environmental Science with Living Environment. So it's one course with 2 exams in it. Right. So yes. 3 years ago.
This year, I think, is the 2nd year of the LEAPS program. So we started 3 years ago.
Yes, that's brand new. That is something separate from everything else. That is a 4-year research. It's somewhat affiliated with Capstone, but it's separate. Students who are in this program may opt for Capstone, but this is somewhat separate, even though some of the students in the research program might go for AP Capstone. AP Capstone is it's its own separate entity from this, or this is its own separate entity from Capstone. It's a research course. Yes, so in 10th grade, students who are taking seminar can also enroll in this program, but it's separate from the seminar course. geometry regions. No. And the Research Academy is not. Okay, and the High School Research Academy, there's no tests at the end of the year for this. It's more project based and presentation based. Yes, that's a great question. I haven't hired that person yet, but the course it really prepares students for science competitions. That's one of the, besides building a tremendous portfolio and research skills. I don't want to turn this into a science research presentation, but it's terrific, and one of the great endpoints or the culminating points of the course is to enter science research competitions. I hope so.
So just to go back, your question about the 8th grade science test, New York State Science Test. Yeah, that was about 3 years ago. I think this is our third year of all students taking a Regents exam in 8th grade. And like when I mentioned earlier in the presentation, you know, the goal for us was to balance increasing academic rigor with allowing students the option to explore what they're passionate about. And that's really what I think we've accomplished here with this 8th grade program. You know, when I was talking about the amount of electives that we offer, we're also unique in that not every middle school around the island has every student taking a Regents exam. And you're right, a student could end up taking Algebra Regents, Living Environment or Earth Science Regents, and the FLAX exam, which is all 3 pretty rigorous courses and 3 rigorous tests. But most middle schools offer Earth Science or Science 8, and that's when they would take the Science 8 New York State exam. But we have every student taking a Regents exam leaving 8th grade, which is nice, it's a nice addition. And this is our 3rd year, I think, doing it, so it'll be the 3rd year of the LEAPS program next year. Yes? Okay, so her question was, if your child's in 7 honors now, do they automatically go into algebra? The answer is yes, unless your student is struggling significantly, and then you can always call your guidance counselor or call Mr. Kozak and have a conversation about potentially putting them into Math 8. But all the 7H kids are slated, as long as the teacher's recommendation, they're slated to go into algebra. Math 7 students are slated to go into Math 8. And there are options to go into algebra from Math 7 that you would have to have conversation with Mr. Kozak about, because there are some gaps there. There's information that they won't get in Math 7 that they will need in order to be get into algebra the following year. So there's some gaps that your child would have to make up, either through private tutoring or summer school or whatever it is, or independent work that Mr. Kozak would kind of guide you through. And those are rare cases, but we've had a few that went from 7 to algebra in the past. And number 2, yeah. Yes, he did. Correct. 93, I believe it is. Right. So her question, and this is really for the benefit of the at-home audience here. So the question was, with the new rigor of the science program, and your child's going to be in either living environment or earth science, we still maintain the same requirement of a 93 overall average in order to qualify for the National Honor Society. So, that could affect, we don't wait, like I think in high school there's some sort of waiting process. So like if you're in earth science, and you're struggling a little bit, yeah, that could actually affect their ability to be in the Honor Society. Good question. What's the what course? Oh. Earth science. So the requirement what we start with to get into Earth Science from Science 7 is a 95 overall average, and that's what I explained. So what we'll do is the second quarter ends, we'll look at their quarter 1 and 2 plus the midterm, then we'll reevaluate at the end of the third quarter. So you'll get an initial email stating that your child got in if they're above a 95. If they drop below that after the third quarter, we may call you and just have a conversation. Likely they'll stay in, but then we do take teacher recommendation as well, especially for appeals. If a child's in the low 90s and you appeal and you want to be, have your child in Earth Science, that will certainly be a conversation we'd have with the teacher first, just to get an idea of the type of student the child is, and if they think the child will excel in Earth Science or not. Maybe there's extenuating circumstances why their grade dropped a little bit below 95, and then a conversation with Mr. Kozak. Did I answer that correctly? Yeah, ultimately we're not trying to withhold a child from being in a class. We're just trying to have, conversations that end up leading to placing the child in the best possible scenario for that child, because every child is different. Yes? Her question is, are electives first come, first serve? I mean, I can't remember blocking a kid from an elective because we were overbooked. So if the course is being offered and it fits into your child's schedule, your child's going to get that elective. The only reason they wouldn't get their elective is if for some reason we couldn't fit it into their schedule because they had other needs, or if the enrollment was low. In order to run a course, we really have to have it above 20 students. Sometimes we can get away with 15. We have to have conversations about that if depending on the course. But if the enrollment for a course, let's say we get our selections back and, let's just say Modern Food has 10 kids that chose it, then we won't run it. If it has 10 kids who chose it as their first choice and 25 kids who chose it as their second choice, we would likely try to run it and take those kids' second choice and put them into Modern Food so we can run the course. So it's kind of like a little game that we have to play over the next couple of weeks, and that's why we need those selections so early so that we have time to really look at it and build the schedule accordingly, with the goal being giving every student their first choice elective. You're not going to all get your first choice elective, but that's always the goal, and we always try to manipulate the schedule so that happens. Yes. Yep, that was you. So her question is, what happens after algebra in 8th grade? I'm going to turn that over to Mr. Kozak.
Yes, you can go. You can try. So a student entering 9th grade would have the option for geometry regents or geometry honors. From there, they move up the sequence. Algebra 2 in 10th grade, they can also co-seat that with AP statistics in 10th grade. 11th grade, depending which direction they wanted to go, a statistics route, pre-calculus. 12th grade, they have calculus AB and BC. AB is the first semester of a college-level calculus course. BC is the first 2 semesters. So that would, it'll be here before you know it. So, for the high school courses. It's science research. There's a math component to it. So the 9th grade science research course has an every other day statistics push-in, so that there is a math component to it, because if you're familiar with research, anytime you're looking at a quantitative study, there are all different statistical tests. So students have to, in order to be able to read an actual and to write a paper, they would have to understand the different statistics that are involved. So some schools, there are different models for different schools. Or many schools don't offer 9th grade, or they'll offer 9th and 10th grade together. We offer a specific 9th grade course because our course actually ties well into seminar as well. So if students decide to go that route, what we're teaching them, the foundations of research in 9th grade, is really beneficial for the AP capstone program as well. Yes, algebra honors in 8th grade, geometry honors in 9th grade, algebra 2 honors in 10th grade. From there, we have AP pre-calculus, going on to AP calculus A, B, B, C. or stats, or whichever direction they want to go. Yes. So we're turning this. Do you want to kick me off the microphone? I'm going to talk all day about math. We have college level statistics. The AP courses also are, depending on the college you apply to, there are opportunities for college credit depending on the college. We also have a college level algebra and trigonometry. And we also have a college level pre-calculus, which is offered through Malloy. Okay, thank you.
Just one quick thing to that. You had asked if there was like a handout or whatever. If you go onto the website, the high school curriculum guide is up on the website. You can view the whole pathway on that. Yeah, right. It's really a well done curriculum guide, right, Mr. Musio? Do you hear that? He said if you want to email Mr. Kozak, he can send you the high school presentation as well. Yes. Do you know the answer to that? I'm going to turn that one over to Mr. Musio. He's our middle and high school guidance director of guidance. Here, you want to, Mr. Musio? Here, you want to take the mic? So the question was, music is not required as an 8th grader. Is it required again when you get to 9th grade? So Mr. Musio is going to take that one.
Okay. The quick answer is yes. Once students enter 9th grade, they are required to have 1 year of either art or music. So if they're part of a performing ensemble, they usually stay, and they satisfy their 1 year, and then they can go on from there or drop it. Okay? They can take an art instead? Well, they can take an art instead, yes.
So yes and no to that one. Any other questions? Doesn't it seem like just yesterday we were out in the lawn, and I was giving you your 5th to 6th grade orientation, sweating bullets out there about how it was that day? It was a long day for me, at least. And now here we are, moving into 8th grade. No other questions? All right. Well, then that wraps it up, everybody. Thank you for coming. We really look forward to a great year. If you think of anything, our doors are always open. Shoot us an email. You can contact guidance, myself, Ms. Quattrochi, or any of our directors and supervisors. Thanks for coming, everybody. Get home safe. Have a great evening.